Okay, so we're going to be talking about DISC, and want to talk about all of the different DISC styles. You guys break in, interrupt, ask me questions. I go through this information a lot. Multiple times a week am I talking to people about DISC. So I might just get into stuff that people that know a lot about DISC already know about, or I might go over the same things over and over again. So just break in, ask questions, and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I basically have 4 slides. I have a few more slides, but I have 4 basic slides that I want to go over. And they are the DISC, the dominance, the influencing, the steadiness, and the compliance slides. These are the 4 basic slides. There are a lot of things that you need to know about other than just DISC when we're talking about hiring. So I know that a lot of times people get DISC wrong. They'll think, oh, if I just hire according to DISC, all of my problems will go away. Everything will be perfect. Yeah, that's not true, y'all. That's not a thing. If that was a thing, then there would be lots of companies out there that have no employee problems. So that's not a thing. DISC is one of the tools that you can use to help you out. And that's all that it is. I want to say another thing about DISC that I think is misunderstood a lot. DISC is not personality. It's not about someone's personality. It is about their behaviors. So DISC is a behavioral assessment, just talks about how people naturally behave. And then also, it will also talk about, most assessments will talk about how people will adapt their behavior based on their DISC style. All right, so when we're talking, I'm going to be talking about behavior. If you guys say something about their personality, I'm going to correct you just because it's really not about personality at all. And thinking that it is can be really, really confusing because it's not. So I'm going to keep going back to that. And when I was asking the people in my mastermind accountability groups today, hey, you guys, what are the most important things? Like if I only had 40 minutes to tell people stuff, what should I tell them? And that was something that was brought up a lot, was make sure you tell them it's not personality. And then they have to make sure that they know the DISC style and then check their personality on top of that. All right. And then another thing is that DISC is like a small piece. It's a big size piece all by itself, but because it's not the only piece, you need to know other things. And one of the things that I really think is like even more important than DISC, but not maybe all by itself, are the motivators. Like, how are people motivated? And it kind of depends on who you talk to, but most of the authorities agree that there are 6 to 7 basic motivators for people. Some people will tell you that there are hundreds, which is true. There are, we're motivated by different things in different environments all the time, but there's some basic things, just like behavioral styles. We don't behave the same in every circumstance, every time, always the same way. I mean, we're not little automatons. Is that a word? I think it is. We're people. And so you're not going to be able to figure out who the exact best person is according to DISC, but you are going to be able to find out a lot of stuff about them and how they're going to act in your company. And it can be a huge help. Okay, one more thing, and then we'll get to DISC, I promise. The last thing is your values. So how your values are determined by you for your company is going to make a huge difference to the people that you hire as well. So you can hire somebody that's very high dominance, that can be a calm person, a relaxed person. A lot of people don't think that's possible. Well, if they're a dominant person, how can they be calm? Well, because they can calmly be dominating a situation, right? So they can be driving, but it can look like they're very, very calm. All right. So that's the last thing I wanted to say about that. But if you have questions, ask me as we're going. All right. So all of the pages that I'm going to be sharing have these same 6 little sections here. They have the basic descriptors. These are the basic words that describe a high D behavioral style. And you'll see these most everywhere. Adventuresome, competitive, daring, decisive, direct. I like to think of these D's just because it's easy, right? They're daring, they're decisive, they're direct, they're drivers. They're all of those D words. They're a driving force. So that's kind of how you think of D. Now, all of the styles are in a range. So somebody could be a little bit high D. Oh, I didn't even talk about the high yet, did I, y'all? The high
No.
style and the low style. All right. So typically when people are talking about DISC and they're talking about styles, they're talking about the high energy style, what behaviors are above the energy line when they're doing the assessment, which is a little confusing. Just bear with me though, that when we're talking about DISC, we're usually talking about the style, their behavioral styles that are high energy, and everybody will have something that is above the line, high something. So you can either have high 1 style or 2 styles or 3 styles. You can't have 4 and you can't have 0. Does anybody on here know? Oh, I can't see anybody, but maybe you guys can tell me. Does anybody know their DISC style, their behavioral style?
I do.
Yeah. All right, Juan, what is yours? Well, we know there's some. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, mainly D
Uh-huh.
and S.
Yeah. So I was going to guess SD, but is it mainly DS? Is your D higher than your S?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know you very well, but it's easy to see the D and the S in there. And I've never really even seen you under pressure. And that's usually the easiest way to be able to determine somebody's style. All right, so we're talking about the different behavioral styles. Just FYI, I'm an SI, and sometimes in different times of my life, I've been an IS. So we'll talk a little bit about how that is and how it changes and how they can modify a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So when we're talking about the styles, we're going to say high G, high I, high S, high C. Most people, the majority of people have 2 behavioral styles above the line. So you would be like Juan is, right? He's a high DS and I'm high SI. So you will normally have 2. Sometimes you'll have somebody that is only 1 and they would just be high D, or they'll have 3 and they'll be high DSC, for example. When we're talking about DISC, when we talk about, like right now, I'm going to be talking about high D, this would be just D all by itself. But if you have 2 styles that are above the line, like Juan and I both do, DS, SI, then we are going to be, this style is going to be moderated by the second behavioral style. So a lot of times these things will sound exactly like you, but not always. And that's because it's being modified by that second behavioral style. But typically, if you do a good DISC assessment, when you get your results back, it should be 95% or better as far as that accuracy. You should be able to read it and go, oh my gosh, this is so me. Oh, how do they know? And that's a good DISC assessment. All right, so high D, we see that they're daring, they're driving, they're kind of pushing on things, they're moving things, directing them forward. Some basic things, ways that they're really, really good for your team is they're a bottom line organizer. They love to be organized and they like to get things going and moving forward. Forward looking, so they're visionaries. They're able to see into the future and see where are we going, what can we do, what could be next. They're challenge oriented. These people love a challenge. They don't get put off. They see a problem. They don't get a feeling like, oh my gosh, kill me now with this problem. They're like, yeah, all right, that's a challenge. Let's fix that. And let's take on this challenge. Feels good to them. They initiate activity. Oh my gosh, I love high D's because high D is the person in the group when everybody's saying, so where do you want to eat? Oh, I don't know. We have a, no, the high D says, we're going to taco time. If you didn't want to go to taco time, bummer for you. You should have spoke up because guess what? The high D's going to taco time. And 90% of the time, people are like, all right, let's just go. It's easier. But they get stuff going. They make things happen. Another thing about the high D's is that they are innovative. They think, because they're able to think toward the future, they are really good at coming up with new ideas and fresh ideas that haven't been thought of before. You will see a lot of business owners that are high D, not all of them, not by a long shot, but you will see a lot of them. And you'll see a lot of very successful people that are high D that are driving hard on stuff. Again, not all of them. You don't have to be a high D to be an entrepreneur or to be a business owner. That's a fallacy that some people perpetuate, but it's not true. All right, ideal environment. This is really important. If you're going to have high D people on your team, you need to create an environment for them to be successful. Because if you bring somebody onto your team, and let's say they're the exact right kind of person for the job, if your environment doesn't suit them, they can't stay. They can't be successful in this environment, and they won't win, and they will lose. They will leave, especially your high Ds. Your high Ds will bounce out of your company so fast. Why would they stay there? They want a challenge. They want something that's energizing and invigorating. Now, you might not want a lot of high Ds on your team. That's going to depend on what you're doing and what you're trying to do with your people, but you might, right? Sort of depends on where you are. All right, in your company is what I meant, where you are in your company. Are you small and you're trying to grow and drive really hard? Are you kind of settled in on your company and want people to just go and just get the job done? Where are you? All right, ideal environment. They need freedom from controls, supervision, and details. If you try to micromanage a high D, they will balk. They cannot handle being micromanaged. It just doesn't work for them at all. They need an innovative and futuristic oriented environment. What this means is they just need a place where they can talk about ideas and have ideas, and people talk about what's new and what's different. If you can't even have that conversation, then it's not going to be a good environment for your high Ds because they get bored too easily. They are always, remember, they're thinking about the future. They're moving, they're driving forward. They need to have a forum to express ideas and viewpoints. We just talked about that. They need non-routine work. So do high Ds typically make good cleaning professionals? Not so much.
Right? Liz.
Yeah.
One of my girls can't get in. She's trying to get in. Amy Smith.
She's.
I don't have control.
Yeah, I'm accepting everyone that's been coming in. Amy Smith.
Amy Smith. You probably met her at the conference, Juan.
Well, everybody that's been knocking on the door is been coming in. So I'm right. My finger is right on that admit button. So.
All right. Well, should I keep going and hopefully we'll get in? All right. Good luck, Amy. Hope you get in. So non-routine work. So they are not going to make the best cleaning professionals because cleaning is very, very routine. Does it mean that they can't clean well? Absolutely not. That's not what it means. They might be the best cleaner you've ever seen in your life, but are they going to be happy in that role, in that position? Yeah, not so much. Not for very long. Not unless you can really find a way to shake it up, make it new and interesting and some kind of fresh something. And then they need something with some challenge and opportunity. Again, remember, they need to be able to see some future for themselves. Yeah. All right, this is really fun. The tendency under stress. When high D behavioral style is under stress, This is how they look to other people. This might not be how they feel to themselves, but how they look to other people is like they're very demanding or nervy or aggressive or egotistical. And that's just because they're driving. Imagine if you have somebody that's trying to do something, and they're trying to get it done fast, and there's a lot of pressure. They can be like, just grab it, go. Like, who do you think you are talking to me that way? Right? Or just do it the way I said to do it. Okay, who made you God? Right? It can look that way, but what they're not really this kind of person. They are not demanding people. That's personality trait. They are acting demanding. They are acting nervy. They're acting in an aggressive manner, and they're acting in an egotistical way. That could be your perception, and that's how they look under pressure. Okay, under stress. All right, and then here are some limitations. They can overuse their position. They can set standards too high for the other people that work under them. They can lack tact and diplomacy because they can be pushy and bossy sometimes, just trying to get everything moving forward. And they can take on too much, too soon, too fast. A lot of your high Ds are in a situation, I have coached with a lot of high Ds that have grown too fast and then shrunk. They grow, but then they can't support it all because they can just drive on it and make it happen, but too much. They don't have the systems to support what they've done. All right, so this piece down here, the emotion of the high D, this is super helpful. You're going to see on all these slides, we have this, and it's super, super helpful because the emotion of the high D under pressure is anger. Does this mean that the high D is an angry person? No, it does not. But when they are under pressure, the emotion that pops up for them is a feeling for them of anger, like, they feel like, come on, let's go. That anger, kind of a frustrated thing, a lot of times will be underlying that. But the underlying emotion for them is going to be anger. So when you have that customer that's giving you a little bit of grief and they're mad at you, it's not that they're angry people. It's not even a lot of times, oh, Amy made it in. It's not even that they're mad at you a lot of times. It's that they're trying to manage this angry feeling that they have that's popping up for them because things didn't go the way that they wanted. They want to get moving. They want to get it the way that they want things to happen. All right, so one of the ways that we can determine what behavioral style someone is we can put them under just a little bit of pressure and we can see what emotion pops up in them. So this is a huge, huge thing to know. This little anger thing. It doesn't mean that they're going to drop the F-bomb. It doesn't mean that they're going to, that they're angry people or they're walking around like this. That's not what it means. It just means that under pressure, the feeling that pops up for them is anger, which you can use to your benefit. All right. So your high I behavioral style. Here are the words that we use for your high I: influencing, charming, confident, convincing, enthusiastic, inspiring, optimistic, persuasive, popular, sociable, and trusting. Okay. I like to think of them as just sort of influencing. And they are your people a lot of times that talk a lot. They're very, very chatty. They are optimistic. You usually will think of them as your people, the ones that really love to chat with people and talk with people and engage with people. And the number one thing that you want to think about them, though, is that they get things done through other people. So if you need people who can get other people to do things, your high I's are your people. Your high D's will push the people and make them do it. Your high I's can get them to want to do it. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. So your value to the team is they're optimistic and they're enthusiastic. They have creative problem solving skills. They work really well with those high Ds that love a challenge, right? And also those high Ds really, really, really love a challenge, and they love to solve those challenges. Your high Is work really well with them because the high Is can come up with some creative things that the Ds can take and run with. Oh, one thing that I forgot to tell you about the high Ds. This is super helpful. When you are working with a high D, you are in any kind of situation where it's you against the high D for any reason, the high D likes their own ideas the best. So you want to keep that in mind, because if you're trying to tell a high D what we're going to do or how you're going to fix their problem, they're not going to be happy. They would really much prefer to get it fixed their way. They know the best way. It's their problem. Let me just tell you how to fix it. So your high D loves their ideas the best. Okay, so anytime you can, when you're working with a high D, that you can let them have their ideas, that's a winning situation there. All right, and I keep talking about clients, so I'm going to go back to employees again, because I usually give this presentation around clients using these slides. So I'm going to go back to employees again. So if you have your high I, this is your person that is going to be motivating the team. They're going to like to train. They're going to want to be maybe your culture coach. They're going to love your parties. They're going to do all of those types of things. Those are their behaviors are going to be that they enjoy doing those things. Okay, and they motivate other people toward their goals, team players, they negotiate conflicts. High Is are really good at managing conflict because they're good at getting things done through other people. So they're good at getting other people to want to fix their issues, want to change how they're acting, their behaviors, and whatever it is that they're doing. The ideal environment. All right. So remember, just like we said with the high D, if you don't put them into the right seat on the bus, they won't be happy and they'll bounce. So high degree of people contacts. If you put your high I in an office all by herself, doing whatever it is that she's doing, she will be miserable. Put your high C in an office all by herself. She'll be happy as a clam. Please, if I never had to talk to another person, high Cs love that. It's like, what? I'm just going to like play with spreadsheets and do math and just work and nobody's going to bug me. Oh, it's a dream job for your high C. That is the worst kind of nightmare for your high I. Your high I will not do a good job if you give them a situation like that. What they'll do is they'll be in their office for 10 minutes and they'll be like the kid that is upstairs. Mom, I'm thirsty. Mom, I got to go potty. Mom, just go to sleep. But mom, that's your high I, because they can't. Your high I is the kid when the room is dirty and you say, go clean your room. Your high I is like, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? That's your high I, because they can't be alone. Okay. So they need freedom from control and detail also. And this is kind of a little bit of a sticky situation because your high Is can be kind of a little bit flaky, right? So don't tell the high Is I said that. They don't like it, but they can sort of bounce around, and it's usually because they have a lot going on. They're thinking a lot, they're busy, they're talking to a lot of people. So they need to be able to do all of that stuff, which means they aren't real good at taking a project and working it from start all the way straight through to the finish if there's a lot of detail involved. If you give them something like, hey, get that person trained, they can do that. But if you say, get this person trained using this exact system and no wavering for any reason, they're going to struggle. Okay, they're going to struggle. They need freedom of movement. They need to be able to move around, like we just said. They need to also have their ideas heard, just like that high D does. If you don't listen to a high I, you'll wish you did, because they won't shut up. They will not shut up about whatever it is until they think you've listened to them. And even then, they're probably going to want to tell you like 2 or 3 more times.
Yeah.
It's just, Democratic supervisor with whom he can associate. So your high I's need somebody who listens, talks, will work with them, and pays attention to what they have to say. All right. Tendency under stress, self-promoting. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. Good thing you have me. These are your employees that are like, I don't know what you guys would ever do if you lost me. You can't do it without me. Those are those people. They're self-promoting. If they're doing that, though, it's typically because they're under some kind of pressure and they feel like maybe I'm not being appreciated in my job. So I have to tell you how great I am and tell you how amazing I am and more amazing than everybody else. Another thing about your high I's when they're under stress is they're overly optimistic, which seems kind of backwards, right? Why are you optimistic if you're under stress? But they are. These are your people. Some of you, if you are a high C or a high S or a CS or an SC, you will recognize these people. These are the people that when you say, oh, my mom is dying, I'm so upset. Your high I says, oh, at least you won't be suffering anymore. You're like, okay, yeah, that's true. But, I'm really sad that my mom is dying. Well, at least you're young. At least you had her a long time. Your high I's they always see everything from this rosy side. They see this how it's great and how this thing is good. I have this high I in me, and my husband is an SC, and he's very high, both SC, and sometimes I can make him a little insane. One of the stories I tell is about the time that we were coming home from a trip. We'd been on a cruise. It was a 10-day cruise. It was late at night. It was like midnight. I don't know what time it was. I can't remember. It was late. I'm thinking it was midnight. It was raining. It was black. We were on the freeway. We were about 50 miles from home, and we got a flat tire. And it was pouring rain. And that's stress. You see, that's a stressful situation. Everybody's going to agree that's stressful. It's been a long trip. We just want to get home. And now we've got a flat tire on the freeway in the middle of the night in the pouring rain. That's stressful. Without thinking, normally I know that when I'm under stress, Liz, shut up. Just don't talk. Just wait a minute. Give myself a second to think before I talk. But nope. On this day, I said, oh my gosh, we're so lucky. And Tim, my poor husband, looked over at me and he says, Liz, I swear to goodness, I love you. But right now, you need to be quiet or get out and change the tire.
Oh,
I was like, I'm so sorry. When we got back in the car, he's like, okay, I feel better now. Why are we lucky, honey? Tell me why we're lucky. I was just thinking look, there's nobody on the freeway. Nobody. Like, how scary in this kind of rain. We could have, because we did. We were skidding all over the freeway when that tire blew. And I was like, how lucky are we that nobody's on the freeway? No accident. We're going to be all by ourselves. Just get this fixed. He was like, okay, I get it. I see it. But honey, you just got to stop. When bad stuff happens, you can't just be all cheery and bubbly. That just makes me want to strangle you. Oh, sorry. So when it's not something impacting him, he does love it though. He'll see some bad thing. Okay, honey, the septic system just went out. Tell me about how that's good. Oh, I got something for him. He's like, okay, thank you. That helps. All right, so how your eyes can help you out is when things are stressful at work, when it's like, oh my gosh, we are so understaffed and I have to, we forgot this lady yesterday. We told her we would clean her house. We promised her we would do it today because she's having a party. The I is like, come on, you guys, we can do this. It's okay. I'm good at that job. I know her. It's an easy job. Your high I is going to perk up your people. It's going to be like, okay, let's go. They're going to get them going. So that's one way that you can use them. Limitations: inattentive to details. Like I said, they're unrealistic in appraising people. Do you guys know why? Who can tell me why? Oh, you guys are all silent.
Anyone can unmute if
Anybody
themselves.
can answer? Why would they be unrealistic in appraising people? Because everybody's amazing. Everybody. All people are great all the time. That's not realistic. Right? So you don't want to have your high eyes doing your interviews unless they have a very, very objective interview process to follow, because otherwise they're going to hire so many people that you don't like. And they trust people. They trust everyone automatically. They just trust people. Indiscriminately is the word there, right? And then they're a situational listener. Remember I said they're kind of flaky? So they can tend to just listen to certain things at a time. Oh, I just saw that there's a big chat window over here. Am I supposed to be looking at that, Juan, or are you?
No, most people are mentioning about their personalities, and
Okay.
there's no questions there. I'm putting my eyes there. So.
Oh, but I am curious what all the different styles are. What do we have in here? High D.
Most IDs.
Lots of high D. Lots of business owners.
Yeah.
Yeah. D and I. Oh, I love DIs. Oh, DI, ID. It's my personal favorite style. That I just love those people. Okay, so the emotion of the high I, under stress, optimistic. So you put them under a little bit of stress. That high D is getting angry. That high I is getting all cheery and optimistic, telling you what's good, how lucky you are, how this is going to work out really well in the long run. All right. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Let me see if I can get I got my.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
As an office, or what will be the role or the actual behavior motivator for an office manager? Obviously, normally will be a personality, but it's not personality. What will be the
behavioral style, right?
The main behavioral style for a manager, an office manager?
So at the end, I've got this little chart that I'm going to share with you guys. It has all the different styles here, and it has the best styles and like the worst styles, and then some in between. But we have to talk about it. Don't just copy it right now, because there's more to it. Remember, DISC is just one aspect. So when I'm talking about best and worst, it's very, very subjective, and we'll talk about some of those things.
Okay.
Can I say something, Liz?
Sure.
You know, I never thought of this about myself until you said it, but I do this. You were talking about how eyes at interviews love everyone. Yeah. And that's why the way we're splitting up our work between me and my office manager right now, she's doing sales and I'm doing interviews. And then, but I love everyone, well, most of them. Some of them I give them a 3-minute interview and bye-bye. But but I like all of them. So I bring my office manager in. We go over the resume. We ask a couple questions. I show them a video about the job. And then if I like them, I bring Janae in, because I don't trust myself, because I love all of them. And I bring her in to bring me a bit down. And she finds things that maybe I didn't think of.
You know what? I love that. What we usually are teaching is that you want to have all of the behavioral styles in your company. You can't have them all. There is no person that has all 4 behavioral styles. No. And they all have great stuff. I think I would love to be high DISC, but that's not a thing. You can't. The only people that are high DISC are sociopaths and psychopaths. So stay away from that. That's not good, right? So, but you want to have that in your office. You want to have all of these styles, because you need somebody that is high D, who's going to drive and make that company grow and push your company. If you're not that high D, your company is going to struggle to grow. You're going to always up and back. You need to get that D in there. If you don't have any high I, who's going to keep your people all cheery and happy and everybody in a good mood? If you don't have your high S, which we're going to talk about right now, is your S's are those very friendly people. They're very steady. They're easygoing. They like to do the same thing over and over again. These are your people that really, really love to come to work at the same time, and they don't like, the reason your high S's really don't like that we don't have the same time off every day. Those are your high S's. They're really good because they like to do the same thing over and over again. They like to do the same job over and over again, but they would really love it if we could get off at the same time every day. So when you're hearing that complaint, like, gosh, can we just know when we're going to get off, or at least not change it on the day? You got to change it on the day. Your high S's, they are going to balk a little bit. All right, so here are your basic S descriptors: amiable, friendly, good listener, patient, relaxed, sincere, stable, steady, team player, and understanding. So I like to think of them as sincere, stable, and steady. High S's, right? And they're just nice, stable. Who doesn't want somebody sincere, stable, and steady as part of their workforce? What's not to love about a high S, right? They're awesome. We'll get to what's not like to like about your high S's in a minute, because none of the styles are perfect. They all have their awesome things and they all have their detractors, right? The things that are not great. All right, value to the team, so dependable. You can count on them. Your high D's, if they say they're going to be at work, they will be at work unless something really did happen. Right? They're not going to send you the picture of their flat tire that they pulled off of Google Images. That's not your high S, right? So that's your D, y'all. Okay, so it's not your S. They love to work for a leader and a cause. They love. So if you are a really good leader, a strong leader, you really are able to cast vision. Your high S's are just like, oh, they'll do anything you say. They love a good leader and they love a cause. If you can come up with some meaning in your job, why? And we talked about this last time I was on Matter, Meaning, Measure. If you can show them the meaning in your job, these people become uber loyal. So you really want to be looking for that cause for them. They're very patient. They're empathetic. They're able to see things from other people's point of view. Logical, stepwise thinker. Great. They love to be in service to other people. How is this not a perfect job, right? How is a cleaning professional not a perfect job for them? They love being in service to other people. It makes them feel good. The other S word that I really like is support. They're very supportive and they like to be in support of other people. And then the ideal environment, stable and predictable. So if your environment is constantly in chaos, you will lose your S's. And really, you need to keep your S's, y'all. S's are just amazing for cleaning professionals. An environment that allows time to change. So if you are going to make a change, we all have to make changes in our businesses, right? We have to grow. We have to do things differently. We need to have new uniforms. Don't spring changes on your high S's. Give them time to adapt. Tell them, hey, you guys, I'm thinking about this change. What do you guys think? Tell me all of the things and let's chat. And then we move them. That's the first step. And then the second step is, all right, so it looks like those new uniforms that we were talking about, I think I've got like 3 different choices here. What do you guys think about that? Now we're at the choice stage, right? So you got to move them through the stages of change. You can't just plop a change on them. Of course, everybody can take some level of change, but your S's really are so unhappy with very much change at all. They really love long-term work relationships. Who doesn't want high S's, right? They're steady, they're dependable, they like to work, they like to be in service to other people, and they like to be in long-term work relationships. These are not your job hoppers. Your high S's are not job hoppers. They'll stay in a really bad job for a really long time. Trust me, I know. I've had some. When my company was in some bad spot, I'm like, how are these people like sticking it out? Yeah, they're high S. they can make it happen as long as you give them the good environment. They don't like a lot of conflict. So they're not good with conflict. They don't handle conflict well, because they like things steady. They like them. Let's just do the thing. They're your people that, can we just get to work? Can we just go get to work? If you're having an employee meeting and people are talking about all the different issues that you have in the company, et cetera, your high S's, they are done talking about the issues. As soon as somebody brings it up and somebody says a potential solution, okay, let's go with that. And now can we get to work? Can we go? Can we go to work? Right? So your high D's also want to get to work, but for a completely different reason. Your high S's are just, let's just get on with the regularness of the day. Okay, and then they don't like a lot of restrictive rules, but I mean, who really loves a lot of restrictive rules, right? I mean, except your C's. Your high C's really love the rules, but the other behavioral styles don't like really restrictive rules. Your S's, they like it if you can give them direction and let them do their thing. They really enjoy the autonomy because they are so steady. They feel like they can be trusted. And most of the time, y'all, they can, right? Now, we're only talking behavior. So can you have a high S that's a thief? Oh, yes, you can. Absolutely. You can have a very steady thief that steals at every single one of your jobs. Absolutely, you can. So don't get stuck in the idea that because they're very trustworthy, they're sincere, stable, that it changes who they are, their personality. These are their behaviors, their basic behaviors. All right, tendency under stress. High S's, when they're under stress, they're non-demonstrative. They are non-emotional. So these are your people that, like your employee, you know they're mad, right? You heard from somebody, she's mad about blah, blah, blah. And then you ask her about it and she's blank faced. It's fine. No, it's fine. Everything's fine. That's your high S. Your high I is like, well, I didn't really want to have to mention it because blah, 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 blah. And I think it'll all going to work out well anyway in the long run, blah, 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 blah. Your high D is going to say about that same problem, yeah, and if it doesn't get fixed, I'm telling you, bigger things are going to happen. Either you get it fixed or I'm going to get fixed. All right, we'll talk about the C's in just a second. All right, and then possible limitations. They'll yield to avoid controversy. So your high S's are not the person in your company that you can count on to give you the true answer. Like this is the friend that you have that you ask, when you know this is a bad haircut, this is the friend that you ask, how's my hair look? Because she will say, oh, it looks great. Even if it looks terrible, she's not going to tell you, okay? Your high I is going to find a way that it looks good, even if she doesn't like it. And your high D is going to be like, girl, you don't want to know. Don't ask. Okay. Okay. There's difficulty in establishing priorities for them because everything feels important. Everything because of that steadiness thing and that stable thing. Like, I don't know what's bigger. Remember, they go unemotional under stress. So a lot of times our emotion helps us to set priorities. It's like, oh, that one's making me crazy. I got to get that fixed right now. That's a high priority. This thing over here, it's not really bugging me at all. It'll become low priority. With your high S's, because they get flat, they get unemotional, it's hard for them to prioritize. They dislike unwarranted change. We talked about that. And difficulty dealing with diverse situations, when the different types of situations. Your high S's are these people. And I know how many people we have on this call? At least 12, I think there were earlier.
18.
18. I'm guessing, you guys, that at least 16 of you have had the situation where you've had a trainee that says, but so-and-so told me blah, blah, blah. But last time you told me blah, blah, blah. Your high S's, they really struggle. Like, Yeah, but last time we told you that you couldn't use a squeegee on the mirror because that mirror has damage. And if you use a squeegee on that mirror, it's going to cause more damage. But yes, I want you to use a squeegee. Can we just not use a squeegee on any of the mirrors then? No, we need you to use the squeegee when it's meant to and not when it's not. So your high S's struggle when it can't just always be the same. It would just be so much easier if it's always the same. So they really love to do some things like clean bathrooms because toilets, they're always the same, right? How you clean a sink, always the same. How you clean showers, I mean, there's different types of showers, but you can give it to them in a way where we clean all of our stone showers this way. We clean all of our poly showers this way. So they really like that. They like that they can get some nice steadiness in there. All right, and then don't forget that emotion of that high S is non-emotional. The problem with these people is they can trick you. Remember how they really love to have long-term work relationships?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be paying attention because if they're flat too often, that means they're under too much stress and they're not happy. And they might not look for another job because they don't tend to go out looking for another job as quickly as other behavioral styles. But if another job comes along or somebody points out an opportunity, okay, they might see it as time to leave because of this thing that you didn't even know was a problem. Because they don't like the conflict, they're not going to tell you about it, and they're just going to flatline on you. All right. All right, now we're on to high C. And high C's, you see all the words, conscientious, courtesy. A big word that I really like for the high C also is critical, okay? So your high C's are really all about compliance. And compliance has a lot to do with being critical. They're able to see what's good and what's bad, and they don't like it when people don't do what they're supposed to do because they are all about compliance. And you will find that your high C's tend to really like to do what is supposed to be done. They love to follow your rules and they want everyone else to follow the rules too. All right, so the value to the team, these are people that are keeping your high standards, right? They will clean the way that you want them to clean when nobody's around. Not all your styles will. You guys know that, right? Some styles, when you put them out there in the field, if they're out there all by themselves for too long, they start to adopt their own ways of doing things. Not your high C's. Nope. And your high C's make sure that everybody else stays on track with how it's supposed to be done too. They're conscientious and steady, not just steady. They're steady because it's a conscious thought to them that this is the right way to be. So they really are all about doing things the right way. They value to the team, they define, clarify, get information, and test. So they're really good with all of these things. Their objective is the anchor of reality. So when everybody else is talking about anything other than the truth of the matter, they're going to keep bringing you back to, yeah, but that's not really the way it is. How it really is like this. The problem that you will have a lot of times with your high C's is because they're so wired for doing things the right way and making decisions based on the right way to do things. The reason why they will think that they are right about things is because they think about things much more and much more in depth than the other styles. These are your processors. When a problem comes up, they get all the data. They want to know all of the information. It takes them a lot longer to make a decision. It takes them a lot longer to make a decision because when they make a decision, they make the right decision. They don't just make quick decisions, they make good decisions. So where you have a high I, for example, on your team, your high I is like, let's try this. Let's just do this. Let's just do this thing. We'll see. If it doesn't work, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. We'll fix it later. Your high C is like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to get the data, figure out what's the smart move, and that's what we're going to do. They're comprehensive problem solvers. That's what I mean there, right? They're in a bigger way. They're gonna figure out the problem and they're going to solve it down to the nth degree. Ideal environment where critical thinking is needed. You like critical thinking. You want someone to process information and to figure out the rights and the wrongs of things. Your high Cs are going to be awesome at that. They love to do it. They're good at it. And like I said, you could stick them in a room all by themselves with data and they're like, yes, that's a win. That's a win. They like close relationships with a small group. So huge groups where you're doing a lot of stuff is a little bit off-putting for them. And they like a familiar work environment. And like I said, a private office. All right, tendency under stress, pessimistic, picky, fussy, overcritical. And a bigger and a further away drawer. So these are your people that are telling you, these people are saying things like, yeah, but so-and-so did it this other way. Or they will say, what is wrong with her? She is not quite right because she did this one thing wrong. So they're just really critical about everything. When it comes to a client, these are the ones that one hair, and you're getting a low review, right? Those are those people. Limitations, they can get defensive when they're criticized. So I'm going to talk about, they can get bogged down in details. They can be overly intense for the situation. They can appear somewhat aloof and cool. But I want to tell you that the reason why all of these things happen with the high C, because these things can be hard for a lot of the other behavioral styles. C's can be really hard on. Your high C's are the ones that when you say, Mrs. Johnson called and said that we didn't get her bathroom done. Oh, yes, I did. You can't even have a conversation with her. Says the floors weren't done. Well, I did them. She probably left those dogs in there. She's always got a reason. The reason why they do that is because of the emotion of fear. Does it mean that they're afraid of everything? No. Just like the emotion of the high D is anger, it doesn't mean they're angry. But the emotion that's popping up is, for the high Cs, is fear. Fear that people aren't going to understand. Fear that I'm going to be seen in a bad light. Fear that people aren't going to recognize what a great job I'm doing because I'm all about compliance. I need people to be able to think that I'm doing a good job and doing things the right way. And I'm afraid that they won't. So they get defensive, not because they're trying to get away from accepting responsibility. You just have to approach it from a different angle with them. You have to approach it from the angle of, I know you, Sue, you always do a good job. Set them up. Mrs. Johnson said we didn't do the floors. What do you think happened there? It's easier for her to then say, okay, well, at least you know I did a good job. This isn't about me. So now maybe I can start to help you figure out what's wrong. All right, and I know we're really tight on time, y'all. Told you. Talky, Gabby.
That's fine. We're taking notes.
Okay, good. I can send this over to you too, Juan.
Okay.
All right, so these are the basic behavioral styles for the different positions that are these are the styles that are really good, but depending on what style you are is going to modify this. So for example, if you are a high DC, which means you're a high driving, very, very high compliant person, okay? And if you get somebody in your office that is high DS maybe, okay? You guys might crack heads because high Ds like their own ideas best. So if you want to not be in your office, right? You're trying to be like an off-site person, you're trying to get some time away, you want to be able to do other things, great. Then you want to be getting that high D in that operations position. But if you're going to have an operations person that's high D and you're going to be there with them, chances are good you're going to crackheads. So the different styles are based on who you are as well. You need to know your own style. And I did. Okay, so I put this little thing in here just so you can get an idea of who the styles work with the best. Okay, and I'll
Liz,
send this over to
sorry to interrupt you. I mean, we're seeing still slide one. I think for some reason your slides are not, we're not seeing the rest of your
advancing.
slides.
You guys have not been seeing all of these ISC slides?
I mean, I thought it was my computer, not, but I asked my partner here, and there you go.
No, are you kidding me?
Yep, but now I'm seeing it now. Do you have two screens?
I do. And
Okay.
I know
Feeling great, Liz.
Oh my gosh, you guys. All right. Well, I'm going to send you all of these. So this would have been a so much better presentation for you guys if you were able to see all these.
But I'm
So
taking
sorry.
notes, and that helped me kind of take all the information and put it in my head now. So,
Okay,
but if you can send it to me, and I'll send it
I
to
will.
everyone after, so they have all
I
the notes as
absolutely
well.
will. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, y'all.
No worries.
All right. So these are the different positions. I'll send you this as well. And then these are the first impressions, social interactions. These are the people who they get along with best. So with where the blue is, the overlapping means that they get along best with this style. And the smaller the blue, the less they get along with them.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So,
So like,
does when you have, your cleaning technicians and do you look for some type of
yeah.
avoiding maybe, when they have to work in
Absolutely.
teams, you have to keep this in mind, right?
Absolutely. And also, you guys know already personality on top of this, right? If you have somebody that's a real fast person, fast moving for whatever reason, and you have another person that's a slow moving person, they might not be good together unless the fast person loves pulling up some of the weight of the slow person. Sometimes they like that depending on the style. All right, but this little graph here can help you determine who is going to work really, really well with who. All right, I did want to show you guys this. Here I showed you before. This is the Tony Robbins free disc option.
Yeah.
It's not the best one on the planet, but I would say for most people, it is a very, very good option. I recommend a paid disc option for yourself and also for like any high positions in your company, because you'll get all of the information. You'll get the motivators, all of the disc behaviors, and you'll get all of the stuff like how to manage them, how to motivate them, all that kind of stuff. If you want to know more about me, you can go to mastermindaccountability.com. And that is it, Juan. I'm sorry that I went.
No worries.
That y'all didn't see any of the slides. So sad.
Don't worry. We'll send it out to everyone. And I think when we edit the video, we can maybe put some of the slides there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, because we'll do some editing afterwards. So it will make sense when people see the replay.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, no worries. I wanted to ask you, and everyone that has some questions might put them on the chat.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you. You've been in business so long now that at what point you said, I'm gonna start to implement this resource. At what point in your business you decided to really make this a priority when you're hiring people?
I decided to make it a priority when I learned about it.
Okay.
But I didn't learn about it until maybe 8 years ago. So it was only maybe 8 years ago that I really started, everybody in my company, on their name tag, it says their disc style. And we talk a lot about disc. Everybody takes a disc. Everybody knows the different behavioral styles and how to treat each other. So, but that was probably about 8 years ago, Juan.
Okay. And at what point did you do this test? At the very beginning, or when they are being trained, already when they're working? At what point you should really put this test in their hands?
So so my ideal way of doing this is part of the hiring process. So it's one of the things that we have them do. that before we ever meet with them. If they
Okay.
don't want to send us their disc assessment in the past, if they didn't want to send us their disc assessment, then we just wouldn't move forward in the interview process. Right now, we're not doing it until we get them hired because we're trying to remove a lot of those barriers to hiring, right? Because the situation is so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
The
so
market.
now what we do is we put them under pressure instead to get a sense of whether or not they are DI, S, or C.
Yeah.
And and that's our strategy, just to decide if we want to hire them.
Okay. Um, in the current market that we have, which is so hard to hire people, obviously we lower our barriers of entry because of the situations. But do you typically, or do you say no to someone at this point where you're lacking employees or you need employees if they have the wrong profile? Or would you just let them come in, work for a couple of months, and let them go? How do you handle when we're under pressure of hiring people?
Yep. I'm hiring a lot of people that I might not have hired before, and not just around DISC. I'm hiring personality styles that I might not have hired in the past. I'm hiring people that look differently than I might have hired in the past. I'm hiring people that have shorter work histories than I might have hired in the past. So I'm hiring a lot of people now that I might not have hired in the past. And it's a harder management task, managing a different workforce. The culture is, it's a lot harder to manage your culture when you have different people coming in than you're used to.
And since you started this 8 years ago, and I guess you've been tracking the progress of hiring these people, have you noticed that every time that you make a good decision or you hire the right person, you prove that what you've learned and what you're teaching is been proving to provide you better results over time?
Yep.
Have you refined that and refined it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, just because somebody is the right behavioral style, though, and has the right motivators, does not automatically, like I said in the beginning, does
Yeah.
not automatically just assure me that 100% that this is going to be a good fit. But I have much better success than almost anyone that I know of. Actually, I don't know of anyone that has better success than we have at hiring people and then bringing them into our culture and then holding onto them and keeping them.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of risk of time, money, efforts to hire the wrong person, and I think all of us have suffered from that mistake.
And
And
the training is so expensive.
yeah.
Put people through training only to have them leave. So it's my high eye coming out when they don't show up for that first day. I'm like, thank goodness I didn't waste any money training. Right? Yay.
Yeah. I have a question here for you from Sarah. It says, is there a list of questions to ask during the hiring process to find out a person's disc profile? Well, I guess you put them you send them the profile and they send it to you, correct? That's what you mentioned.
We just give them and I give them, even though I do desk assessments myself, I give them the free Tony Robbins assessment to do and then send it to me before we ever meet them. It's not, like I said, it's not what I would consider 100% accurate because
Yeah.
it's just a quick test. It's a freebie. It's not meant to be, really all inclusive, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it does give you a really good indicator of who's the person that you're gonna meet, and make sure that you're asking the right questions. So it's really, it's like having insiders information about somebody before you meet them, so you're more prepared.
And you can at least know what to look for too,
Yeah,
to see how accurate it is as well. It just cuts out a lot of the questioning.
totally. Uh, Let me have another question here. About your hiring process in general, I've been 16 years in business and I've changed over time multiple times, trying to find that perfect formula. And I think I found a good one, but I think there's still always room for improvement. Do you have a consistent way process that you consistently just execute and that has provided you the best results over these years?
Well, because I'm high SI, of course, I love systems. I have a system for everything. I'm big into systems.
Yeah.
So, yes, of course, I have a system. But what I can tell you is I am also, because my business partners also, I like have a high D business partner and I have high C business partner. So I am very aware of the future of the industry, where we're going, where changes are happening. And so it's easy for me to be at the front of changes. And so when I see things changing, I I am usually ahead of that curve. For example, I changed my ad, I want to say 6 years ago now, that our ad would read unlimited time off. When I first put that ad out, people told everybody in our industry told me I was insane. That wouldn't work. There's no way. And, now isn't everybody doing some version of that? Because we have to find people, right? So there's some version of that is going around in a large part of the groups. Everybody's looking for how to be flexible with the hours, how to give people time off. But I'm usually changing things on a pretty regular basis based on what I see. I do a SWOT analysis on our company twice a year, and I make adjustments to our systems based on the SWOT.
Wow, amazing. Here's a question. Have you ever noticed a shift in the disc profile after years working with an employee? For instance, a strong I may have had a live event affect their behavior over time. So, do you retest them for fun?
For fun. Okay, so that's funny that you said that, whoever said that, because I will test people for fun because it is fun for me. Most people would not do it for fun.
Yeah.
But in answer to your question, yes, people's disc behavioral styles can shift over major life events. So a main person dies, there's a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
a new baby, good things too, right? They
Yeah.
have a new baby. And yeah, their behavioral styles can change over time. They usually don't change a lot, but usually it's more the intensity. Like you're not going to find somebody that was a DS is now all of a sudden an SC. That's not a thing. But you might have been high DC and now you are, more even DC or even CD. That happens, but not so much that they just change styles altogether.
Amazing. Somebody's asking if you can elaborate more on the unlimited time off and that flexibility.
Yeah. So I'm sure that you guys are doing a version of this as well. We advertise unlimited time off with 2 weeks notice, right? So if you give me 2 weeks notice, of course I can give you as much time off as you want. And it's unlimited. Nowadays, what we're finding is there aren't a lot of people that really want to work 5 8-hour shifts. It's a very common idea right now that a 40-hour work week is too much, that's an unrealistic expectation of employees. And so they're wanting fewer hours. They want a more flexible schedule. A lot of people don't have their kids in school or they're on flex school stuff. So they need more flexibility in their work time. So we give unlimited time off, and we also we have 2 other things that we do that I think are a little unique to our industry. One is we let them design their schedule. So it's the first thing that they can do when they come to work for us. I don't really care what it is. We'll just have to figure out how to make it work. They might work a 9 to 3 on Monday. They might work a 9 to 3 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday they have off, and Thursdays they work from 8 to 1. That might be a schedule. So we let them design their schedules. They can change them at any time. Again, give us 2 weeks notice.
Wow.
So we can shift and adjust, and then you can change your schedule. So that's one thing that we do. And then the other thing that we do that I think is pretty unique is we started requiring people to take a day off every month. So no matter who you are, you at the beginning of the month there is a like a job form that goes out. It says what day do you want off this month? So what we found is requiring people to take a day off. Now, if somebody really is like, I can't, I need to work for whatever reason, of course, we're going to let them work. But making it a requirement that everybody takes a day off every month made it easier for people to take a day off planned and not have any last minute things. And also they can get their appointments done on those days. So we don't have the situation anymore where people are, I can't have a doctor's appointment. I have this. Yeah. Well, if you have pregnant people that are going into the doctor every week, then of course you have some issues like that. But for the most part, that's helped a lot.
That's amazing. I never heard of this concept of, I mean, not in our industry, unlimited time off.
In our industry, right.
But let's say somebody says, I want to be off 3 weeks this month, and in July I want 2 weeks, and they say in total 3 months off for the whole year. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. Absolutely. You just need to let me know if you want something that's very, very outside of the norm, like you want to take a leave of absence, right? We do have people that take leave of absence. If you take a leave of absence, I might ask you for an additional week's notice. Instead of 2 weeks, I might ask for 3. But usually we can make it happen in 2.
And have you noticed that you get a lot more people applying and interested in your job because of that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Our new title is house cleaner / Airbnb / flex schedule, or design your schedule, something like that.
And how does that affect their income if they're missing a lot of, not missing, but being a lot of time off? I mean, their income is obviously impacted. How do you handle your payment structure or in general?
So we pay percentage, and we pay percentage with the base pay. So you're never going to go below whatever base pay is. Usually 50, I think it's somewhere like $14, $15 an hour, depending on how long you've worked for us. And so that when people design their schedule, usually we will sit down with them. So everybody gets to sit down when they get their first paycheck. And then you get another sit down with them when they get their first paycheck out of training. And we sit down with them and we talk to them about, this is how you got paid. This is where your money went. This is what it's for. Is this doable for you? Is this what you're looking for in your job? And they will either modify or keep it the same. Usually people, they're not stupid. They know that they're going to get, less money. Although it's harder when they've been working a full-time schedule. And then they want to go back to, they want to back off. Like, all right, I want to take Mondays off from now on. I only want to work a 4-day work week. They don't really recognize how much money that is sometimes.
Yeah.
I just want to double check that, that's going to be like $100 to $150. Do you have a plan for not getting that money every week? So you're going to be missing like $400 to $600 a month. Is that going to be okay? And so they're like, oh, that much? Yeah. So maybe sit down with a budget. So we have a budget specialist that will sit down with them.
Oh, wow. Seems like we need a part 3 webinar with you. All right, let's look at, see if there's another question here, and we'll let you go. All of our current staff are mothers. So we are hosting a family company event cookout with kickball and other games. We're going to sit down as a team for 30 minutes to give rewards and talk best practices. Would it be an appropriate time to test them the disc? Or do you recommend just sending the link to them and let them complete it by a deadline?
Yeah, send it to them and let them do it as by a deadline.
Okay.
Keep your parties fun, y'all. Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a great time. And with all the families, especially when they have kids, it's really hard for moms to put all of their focus on paper when their kids are running around,
That's
especially in
true.
the work environment, because they're going to be worried that their kids are going to cause trouble. Also, they need to be alone when they do the disc. We tell them to, 20 minutes all by yourself and don't ask anybody what they think. You can usually tell, not on the Tony Robbins disc, but I can tell on the other disc if they're asking like their husband, honey, which one of these sounds more like me? No, don't do that. So you have to tell them your own stuff, 20 minutes all by yourself. So yeah, keep your party fun.
I agree totally. And the last question here, for sure, that's mine. Do you use any badges or label pins or things of that to distinguish people from, somebody that lasts here 10 years, 5 years, perfect attendance? Do you use any of these visual things in their uniforms?
So our uniform has like a lanyard that has the name tag. So then I wish I had one right here. I just put it somewhere, but it's a lanyard. The name tag is on the bottom and it's a magnetic name tag. So it hooks to the uniform and is on a lanyard. So the lanyard is where they keep their pins.
Because I've been researching a bit of that, and I just purchased a couple of pins like trainer and 1 year, 2 years. There's one that says perfect attendance, and I haven't seen anyone talking about this. And but I said maybe I'll ask you. Probably you've been then down the road and know how to do that. So
Let me tell you some things that if you're going to do that, let me tell you where your problems are. All right. So the first problem is make sure that you put wherever they're going to put their pins has to be someplace that they don't have to change them out. So not their aprons because they have to wash their aprons a lot, right?
yeah,
Not their shirts because they have to wash their shirts. Hats work really well. Lanyards work really well. Some people do it like on bags or purses or what are those things called? Backpacks.
yeah.
Right? Those places all work well, but you have to have a place. The other thing is design your badges in advance. What badges and post them so that everybody knows what they are. And then make sure that you have enough badges. Also, so make sure that you have enough badges. The worst thing that you can do is have somebody earn a badge and you don't have a badge for them right then, whenever they earn it. That's the worst. And the second worst is they earn their badge and you're not there, or you're busy, or you forgot. You can't do that. There have to have a plan. If you're going to hand out all badges on the first Monday of the month, or 3 days, I don't care what your system is, 3 days after they earn it, blah, 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 and always give them out the same way. So if you give them all out on a card that says why they earn this and how amazing they are, and then you post the card on the wall and give them the pin, then everybody gets that card. The first time you just hand somebody one without the card, that's not going to go over well for you. Right? Not at all. And then the other thing is don't have too many different options of pins, because then it just starts getting confusing and not fun. And the other thing is make them I said the other thing. There's two more things. Make them challenging to earn. They should not be easy to earn. If they're easy to earn, they have no value,
Yeah.
and they won't like them at all, and they won't even try to get them. And then the last thing is just a brand new thing that we've started doing that I'll share with your audience. I haven't shared with anybody except our MMA audience, is take a picture of the pin. And when you send out your scorecard, so-and-so was is going to be cleaning at your house today, and look for this pin. She just earned this blah, blah, blah thing. It does two things. One, obviously your employees are like, woohoo, I'm amazing. And also your clients are like, oh, they have that PHC training. Oh, that's cool. I love that. Tell a little bit about how they earned this. Now they like your team member more too. They like your cleaning professional.
So you send that to the clients?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Double duty.
Gosh,
Yeah.
you're amazing. We need another
And
part 3
take
with.
that same thing, Juan. Take it, forward it to their husband, wife, somebody, kids. Say, hey, look, did you know your mom earned this? This is amazing. You know? Yeah. Get as much juice out of every single thing that you do as you can. If you have birthday cake for your employee, make sure that you make a big deal out of the box that you're going to send it home for the whole family to enjoy. Send them home with 5 little plates and 5 forks if they have 5 people in their family. So that it looks like you did it on purpose. You've got extra cake anyway. What are you going to do with it? Throw it away? Nobody's eating
Yeah.
that cake tomorrow.
Yeah. How often you
All
do
right.
these events? Every month, every quarter?
So we do, that really is a whole thing. That is a whole thing. Yeah. We
Okay.
do events weekly, monthly, quarterly,
You.
annually. Yeah. We have lots of events.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Liz. It's been a pleasure having you again. I'm learning so
It's
much.
great.
Uh,
Sorry I talk so much, y'all.
I need to
Oh, thank you.
do a private session with you. I really want to pick your brain more. It's been amazing. It's been challenging, and I've been inspired to do better things for my employees. And I'm
Hey,
sure everyone here agrees. And we appreciate your generosity with your time. And
my pleasure.
we'll see you in another webinar. And have a great afternoon.
Sounds great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
y'all.
Bye.